Here are 3 of my favorite double strategies that if you implement, you're going to win more matches. Be sure to send this video to your doubles partners so you can all be on the same page. Tip number 1 is going to help you know where to hit the ball the vast majority of the time. It takes the guesswork out of where you should aim. When you're in the back, aim to the other team's back player. When you're at the net, hit at the other team's net player. Baseliners should hit to baseliners. Net players aim for net players. The reason is simple. When you're at the back, your job is to prolong the point. There's very little angle. Your opponents have plenty of time to react to your shots. So if you're trying to hit winners from the baseline, it's simply not going to be in your best interest. You'll win 1 point for every 4 you lose. It's just not worth it. Instead, kick the can down the road and just keep the ball cross court and hit it to the other team's baseliner. This is why when you watch doubles at a recreational level, you see so many cross court rallies and the ball just goes cross court. It's very smart actually as the baseliners to keep it away from the net players because the net players end the point. Net players, their job is not to prolong the point, their job is to end it. And the easiest way to end it, when you have a ball above net level, so we're talking overheads, high volleys, any volley that's above net level, you hit it hard at the feet or at the legs of the opposing net person. See, doubles is different than singles. Doubles is not a game of keep the ball away from your opponent. Instead, doubles is about hitting the ball to the correct opponent. So you're not trying to find open court all the time in doubles. If you're constantly thinking, where's the open court? Doubles isn't that kind of game because they've doubled the number of people, but they haven't doubled the size of the court. So if you're constantly trying to avoid your opponents, you end up missing in order to avoid them. Instead, just know where you are on the court and aim to that person. And by the way, who you are can change. If you're in the back, obviously your job is to, the vast majority of the time, hit it to the other team's back player. But if you come up to the net, now you're a net player. Now the ball comes to you. You don't want to hit to the baseliner. You're now a net person, and you're going to blast it at the other net person. No time to react, and you easily win the point. That one strategy right there is going to win you a match in the next month, I guarantee it. Tip number 2 is all about how to play both offense and defense when you're at the net. Remember, the ball typically goes cross court. This is tip number 1, baseliners hit to baseliners. Well, while this is occurring, what you don't want to do at the net is just stand still and watch the ball go by you. That's not what you want to do. Instead, you want to move forward and back, forward and back. And the easiest way to think of this is just follow the ball, or imagine the ball's a magnet and you're getting pulled toward the magnet. So let's say the returner hits the return back to the server, right? Server serves, returner hits it back to the server, which is what you're typically doing in doubles on the return. Well, the net players shouldn't stay in their positions. They should actually switch positions. The server's partner, who's in the middle of the box, then moves back to the service line. The returner's partner, who's on the service line, moves forward to the middle of the box. Look how they've switched positions. Middle of the box to the service line to the middle of the box. Then, if the server shot is hit back to the returner, which would be a great thing to do, now these two players switch again. Let's say the return is hit back to the server. They're going to move toward the ball. So the returner's partner moves toward the ball. The server's partner moves toward the ball. You're doing this so that you can play both offense and defense. Here's a question. Who is the most offensive player on the court right now? Do you know? It's the returner's partner. Because they're hoping, I mean, it's certainly not the server's partner. They're about to get blasted. If the server hits it anywhere near the returner's partner, remember tip number 1, any high ball, any ball above net level, overheads, high volleys, whatever, you're blasting at this person's feet because they have no time to react or very little time to react. So this player is really defensive. This is the offensive player in this scenario. The baseliners are neutral. Remember, baseliners kick the can down the road. You just prolong the point. If you're at the net, you're not looking to prolong the point. If you're up and you've got a high ball, you're looking to blast it at the other net player's feet and they have no time to react. So when the ball goes cross court, you switch. See, there's a little bit of a dance between the net players. The net players are going from offense and defense to offense and defense, and you just take turns with this. So it's very simple. When you're at the net and the ball goes behind you, move to the service line. This player should move forward. If you're at the net and your partner hits it cross court and avoids the net player, now it's your turn to move forward. Hopefully they don't move, but for your sake, but they really should, for their sake, move back. So if a ball is somewhere close to you, you can poach it and you can nail it at their legs. When you're at the net in doubles, follow the ball, moving up and back as if the ball is a magnet and you're getting pulled toward it. You'll play both offense and defense better than you ever have. Now, before we get to tip number 3, I want to let you in on a little secret. There are people in your local town and area who would love to play tennis with you, but you don't know them and they don't know you. And you know how you find them? playyourcourt.com. Check out the link in the description. And at the end of this video, I'm going to have the link pop up right on the screen right here. There are people in your local area who want to practice with you, play singles and doubles matches with you. And there are even coaches on there you can find in your local area who can help you improve your game. So make sure you check out Play Your Court to find people in your local area to start playing a lot more tennis than you currently are. All right, tip number 3, where you should go when a lob occurs, because it is not intuitive where the lobbing team and where the lobbed team should go when a lob ensues. So let's check this out. Let's say this is you, and you hit this amazing lob, like the best lob you've ever hit, right in the corner. The ball's way back there. Let's say this player is right-handed, and 9 times out of 10 they are. And so they're sprinting over to that ball, and that's going to be a backhand for them, and the ball's bouncing high, and they're really, struggling with the ball. So the question is, when you lob successfully, where should everyone go? The answer to this question, if you get it right, if you know exactly where you should go, you are going to dominate your opponents in this scenario. Let me show you where everybody should go. That is the perfect court positioning after a lob. Let me explain. When you hit a lob, or when a lob occurs, do you know what typically comes back? When you lob, and that forces this team to switch, after this person goes over and gets it, what do they do with their ball? Like, what type of shot do they typically respond with? You lob to them, what comes back? Another lob. Well, what do you want to hit? I hope you're going to answer correctly. What should you want to hit off of a lob? You should want to hit an overhead. This is what I typically see. A lob occurs. The person who hit the lob, they stay behind the baseline. No, don't do that. Their partner gets tight to the net. No, don't do that. Why? Remember, this team is switching. And we'll talk about this player and why they're going to the baseline in a second. This player is going to lob. Well, the only lob that they can hit that your team is going to hit an overhead off of is a terrible lob, because your partner is so close to the net that even a mediocre lob is going to go over their heads. And you're behind the baseline. Who's going to hit an overhead from behind the baseline? And don't tell me that, oh, I'll run forward and hit an overhead. Like, nobody in rec tennis stands behind the baseline and a lob occurs and they go sprinting in up to the net to hit an overhead. It just doesn't happen, right? So what ends up happening is that lob comes back and it bounces and you squander the chance to hit an overhead on that ball. Instead, here's what you want to think. When you lob over your opponent's head and they're going to switch, the team who lobbed, put your toes on the service line. So this player might even move back a little bit. You as the lobber, if it was you go forward, but the key isn't the direction you move, it's the place you go. Put your toes on the service line. This team will switch. If this person hits a terrible lob, you can go forward. If they hit a mediocre lob, comes right to you. If they hit an amazing lob, you take 2 steps back or 3 steps back and you hit an overhead. I mean, it takes no time to take 3 steps back. You do a drop step, a couple crossovers, you get back in plenty of time. There's almost no way they can get the ball over your head. And all you've done is just position yourself equidistant to their really bad lobs and their amazing lobs. When you put your toes on the service line, you will 8, 9 times out of 10 hit an overhead. When you won't hit an overhead is if they just hit a ground stroke. And then you can hit a half volley and just play out the point from there. Now, why am I demonstrating the person who was lobbed, who yelled switch, not staying at the net, but rather moving back to the baseline? Because this team should be placing themselves on the service line to hit an overhead. And remember tip number 1, where you're supposed to aim your overheads and high balls? You're supposed to find the person at the net and crush it at them. Well, by moving back, you take that option away, and now you'll have plenty of time for the overheads that are going to ensue. There's no reason to stay at the net and go, well, what if they dink it? They're not going to dink it. You're at the net and they're going to crush it at you. So move back. You're preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. And if they hit the overhead, great. You have plenty of time and you continue the point. Now, some people say, yeah, but what if they dink it? Okay, great. You run in and then you hit it through the middle and you win the point. It's very, very simple. And oops, man down. Remember, I told you I don't edit my videos. So it's very simple. When a lob occurs, test this out. Instead of like arguing in the comment section, which that does help the algorithm, so feel free to argue actually. It'll get more people to watch this video. But what I was going to say is instead of arguing, but still argue, instead of arguing, go out and try it, right? Just like prove me wrong by actually going out and doing it, because what you're going to do is actually prove me right. But when the lob occurs, the team who hit the lob, put your toes on the service line. Even if that means this player's up, they're going to move back to the service line. Put your toes on the service line, no closer, toes on the service line. If the ball goes over your head, yell switch and move back diagonally to the baseline. That way, if your partner hits a bad overhead, you're not at the net, a dead duck, but if the ball gets blasted at you, then you'll have plenty of time and then you'll live for another shot and maybe even win the point. So click right there to check out Play Your Court and find people. I bet there's somebody within 2 miles of you who just moved into the area and they're on Play Your Court and they're trying to find people just like you, and they would love to practice, right? You can practice doubles and singles and all the drills that you're learning here on 2-Minute Tennis on YouTube. So click the link, make sure you sign up and check out all the people in your local area, and make sure that you find coaches who you can practice these ideas with as well. So you work on these 3 doubles tips and there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2MinuteTennis.net. You got this.